You've heard it before. Atlanta is a black city. Washington, D.C. is chocolate city. But are they really? Not necessarily. You see, over here we usually talk about metro areas because it's a more accurate way to gauge the true size and scope of an American city. It eliminates variances in how some cities are able to annex more territory, while some others are confined to a smaller area. And you can watch video linked in the description to learn more about metro areas. So with that being said, on this video, we're going to be going over the top 10 American metros by percentage black population, which gives a more accurate idea of what America's real black cities are. In these metro areas, you are more likely to encounter black Americans than any others in the country. And now some of the places on this list might surprise you, while some of the others you may have already expected. And before we get into the list, let's go over some overall information regarding these metro areas. First, no metro area in the United States is majority black. Not a single one. Meaning that none of the metros on this list meet that over 50% threshold that's required for a majority of a population. And secondly, every single one of these metros is in the southern United States. Every single one. No, not any fringe southern states like Texas or Florida, but the states that people almost always agree are part of the South. And this also underscores where most black Americans do live in the United States. And finally, Atlanta, Washington, D.C., nor Baltimore made the top 10 of the blackest cities in the United States. In fact, only 2 of the metros on this list even have a plurality black population, which means that while not the over 50% majority, black Americans are the largest group in the metro. Otherwise, all of the other metros on this list are either majority white or they have a white plurality population, despite their large black populations. And to start things off, we're going to do an honorable mention just to give you an idea of where things stand. The 11th highest percentage black metro in the U.S. is what many may have expected to be number 1, and that is Atlanta, Georgia. In 2020, Metro Atlanta was 34.2% black with a numerical population of 2.084 million, which does indeed put it second only to New York City as far as numerical population. But in terms of percentages, Atlanta is actually a majority white American metro area, with whites making up over 55% of the population. So contrary to popular belief, Atlanta is a white metro, it seems. Now on to the official top 10. Just barely edging out Atlanta at number 10 on the list is Fayetteville, North Carolina, home of the large Fort Liberty Army Base, formerly known as Fort Bragg, and sometimes referred to by some as Fayetteville. In 2020, Fayetteville was 34.3% black, just barely beating out Atlanta, and had a black population of around 171,000 numerically. The Fayetteville area includes Fort Bragg and outlying towns such as Hope Mills, Lumberton, and Spring Lake. The economy is dominated by the military base, and much of the activity in the area is driven by or in support of the military population. The metro as a whole has posted consistently healthy growth rates, as the state of North Carolina as a whole continues to be one of the fastest growing in the country. This is despite Fayetteville not having the positive reputation that larger in-state cities Raleigh and Charlotte have enjoyed in recent decades. Fayetteville is located along America's busiest highway, Interstate 95, and is the only city of real significance on that highway in either of the Carolinas. A new bypass known as Interstate 295 is currently partially completed around the core city. Fayetteville was never really known for having a credible downtown area, as large military populations usually are supported by strip malls and other similar types of development, which can be found along Bragg Boulevard. However, in recent years, the city has made efforts to make the downtown area a more serious destination for residents and tourists. Ninth on the list is Baton Rouge, Louisiana. In 2020, Baton Rouge was 34.7% black with a numerical population of around 302,000. Baton Rouge is Louisiana's state capital at the junction of I-10 and I-12 northwest of New Orleans along the banks of the Mississippi. 9 surrounding parishes, the Louisiana equivalent of counties, help make up the Baton Rouge metro area. The economy is dominated by the oil and gas industry as the city serves as an inland deep-water port on the Mississippi. And growth has been quite consistent in the metro area with rates averaging around 10% per census period. Baton Rouge recently made headlines for the rare occurrence of a major U.S. city being split up into separate municipalities. Growth in the core city has been sluggish in recent decades, and after this split, you're going to see a huge drop, and likely an exodus to follow of the core city of Baton Rouge. So don't be surprised if Baton Rouge becomes the next Jackson, Mississippi. Gotta love the amazing governing going on in some of these deep south states. No wonder everyone is just dying to move to them. At least Georgia had enough sense to block that insanity in Buckhead. Good luck, Louisiana. You're 50th of 50 in many metrics for a reason. On to 8th place. In 8th place is Augusta, Georgia. Augusta was 34.8% black in 2020 with a population of 212,000. The core city of Augusta is the third largest in Georgia by city population at 611,000. The Augusta metro area includes nearby cities of North Augusta and Aiken, South Carolina, as well as Martinez, Georgia. Augusta sits along Interstate 20 with connections to Atlanta and Columbia, South Carolina, while the downtown area contains many shops and restaurants and sits along the Savannah River. The largest industries in the metropolitan area are medicine, biotechnology, cybersecurity, manufacturing, and education. And it is also famous for the Augusta National Golf Club. When you come to the Augusta area, you'll see lots of the scenery that most people think of when they think of the Deep South. The style of development, the homes with the large porches and trees, you can find them in Augusta, North Augusta, and Aiken. And the metro with the 7th highest black population, just slightly ahead of Augusta, is Mobile at around 34.8%. The 2020 numerical population was 150,000. The Mobile metro area is a single county metro area that consists only of the core county of Mobile County, Alabama. Mobile is a slower growing metro, growing at a modest 0.4% from 2010 to 2020. The core city of Mobile recently overtook Birmingham to become the second most populous city in the state after Huntsville. All the more reason why city population is mostly useless. Mobile is at the intersection of the transcontinental Interstate 10 and the southern terminus of Interstate 65. I-10 connects it with Tallahassee, Florida, and New Orleans, while I-65 runs north to Montgomery and Birmingham. The crown jewel of the Mobile economy is the Port of Mobile, Alabama's only deep water port and the 12th largest in the United States. Another thing of note is that nearby Pritchard declared bankruptcy back in 1999, and from 1970 to 2020 went from around 47,000 to just over 19,000 residents as core industries left the area. And that Mobile itself and many inner suburban towns are quite stagnant in growth, with only a few outlying areas such as Saraland and Satsuma driving nearly all growth in the metro area. Number 6 on the list is Shreveport, Louisiana. In 2020, Shreveport was 39.4% black with around 155,000 people. Interesting note about Shreveport is that it is the only metro on this list that lost black population from 2010 with a drop of 0.1%. This is also somewhat in line with the metro as a whole, which saw an overall population loss of 1.3%, making Shreveport the only metro on this list to be losing population both black and overall. The other two main cities in the Shreveport area are Bossier City and Mansfield, Louisiana. Shreveport is at the intersection of Interstate 20 and Interstate 49, with I-20 providing connections to Dallas and Jackson, Mississippi, while I-49 currently connects with Texarkana to the north, Alexandria, Lafayette, and eventually New Orleans to the south. There is currently a gap in I-49 in the city, and officials hope to have a preferred alternative route finalized by the end of 2024 to complete that highway. The condition of roads and infrastructure in Shreveport is rough, and though it has some nice historical neighborhoods, the region could use some sort of economic jolt of life. The economy of the Shreveport area is defined by casinos, the oil and gas industry, as well as manufacturing. Kicking off the top 5 is another military town, Columbus, Georgia. In 2020, Columbus was 41.6% black, a population of around 137,000. Columbus has a very large land area, and the other main cities in the area are Cusseta, Georgia, and Phoenix City, Alabama. The Columbus area economy is dominated by the large Army base Fort Moore, formerly known as Fort Benning. In terms of city population, the core city of Columbus is second only to Atlanta in the state of Georgia, but it is the 4th largest metro area. Columbus is at a dead end on the interstate highway system with the auxiliary route I-185 connecting it to the main line I-85, which can be used to access Atlanta. In the future, Interstate 14 will provide a direct connection with fellow Georgia city, Macon. Columbus has some rough parts, but the Broadway area downtown had a bit of life when I visited there a while back. The largest employer in the area by far is Fort Moore, which completely dominates the local economy. In 4th place is Montgomery, Alabama. In 2020, Montgomery was 43.3% black, a total population of 167,000. The Montgomery area has no other large cities within it, but it does include the nearby suburbs of Millbrook and Prattville. The city of Selma to the west is not included in the metro area, but instead is its own micropolitan area and is included in Montgomery's combined statistical area. Montgomery is another metro where the core city covers a large geographical area. It sits at the southern terminus of the South's most important highway, Interstate 85, and contains its junction with Interstate 65. Interstate 65 connects with Birmingham and Mobile, while Interstate 85 runs northeast to the massive Atlanta metro area. If you haven't noticed yet, most of the metros on this list are in close proximity to one another. Major employers in the Montgomery area include Maxwell Gunter Air Force Base and the state government. Getting into the top 3 is yet another Georgia metro. Third place, Macon, Georgia. In 2020, Macon was 44.5% black, a population of 104,000. Despite being nearby, Warner Robins, Georgia is actually its own separate metro area from Macon. Macon is another metro area that is experiencing sluggish growth, weighed down by the core city of Macon losing population for several decades after the U.S. sent its textile industry overseas. And don't be fooled by the huge jump in Macon's population from 2010 to 2020. It consolidated with Bibb County to get those numbers. Prior to this, the city proper had been slowly losing population as the textile industry faded from the area in the late 20th century. Macon is south of Atlanta and sits at the intersection of I-75 and I-16. I-16 provides connection to the major port of Savannah, and I-75 of course can be used to access Atlanta or head south to Tampa, Florida. In the future, the Macon area is planned to be connected to Columbus, Georgia with Interstate 14. Healthcare and social assistance are the largest industries in the Macon area, anchored by Atrium Health, Navicent, and Piedmont Healthcare Macon hospital systems. In second place on the list, the largest overall population and numerical black population on the list is Memphis, Tennessee. In 2020, Memphis was 45.8% black, with a numerical population of 612,000. Though not an absolute majority, Memphis has a black plurality, meaning that black Americans are the largest group in the metro area, but they still don't quite meet that 50% majority threshold. Memphis has the highest black population of any metro area over 1 million people. Memphis is a major southern metro, situated in the southwest corner of Tennessee along the Mississippi River. It is also a tri-state metro, with counties in Tennessee, Arkansas, and Mississippi. Other significant cities in the metro include Bartlett, Southaven, and Collierville. Memphis is at a major transportation crossroads with I-55 and I-40 meeting in the area. And when or if the I-69 superhighway is completed, it will only further increase the power of Memphis's strategic location. Historically, it was the largest and most dominant in the state, but has recently been surpassed by the capital region of Nashville. So if there's any place in the U.S. that you want to call a black city, and is a major city, Memphis, more than any place else, hits the mark. Memphis has a robust economy and is the global headquarters of FedEx and has the large Memphis International Airport. It is also rich in culture and is the birthplace of blues and rock and roll. Elvis's Graceland estate can be found south of downtown. And Beale Street is the most visited tourist destination in all of Tennessee. And also nearby in Tunica, Mississippi is the major Tunica Casino and Resort. You can take I-69 to get there. Memphis is by far the most prominent metro on this list, and despite some issues in the core city, it actually has some pretty nice suburbs surrounding it. And the true most black city in America, number 1 on the list, is Jackson, Mississippi. In 2020, the Jackson area was 47.8% black, with a numerical population of almost 283,000. And up until the last census, Jackson was actually still a majority white metro area despite the very high black population. Recent data says that in 2020, the white population fell to around 45%, making Jackson a plurality black metro area for the first time. Also of note about Jackson compared to many other metros is the extremely small Hispanic population. Jackson is a rare case where the Hispanic population is barely 1% of the metro, despite Hispanics being the second largest ethnic group in the U.S. today. So if you're walking around any of these towns in the Jackson area, you're unlikely to see anyone who isn't white or black. Other significant cities in the Jackson area include Clinton, Madison, Pearl, and Brandon. Top employers in the area are the University of Mississippi, Nissan North America, and Jackson Public Schools. Major corporations C Spire and Amazon have a presence in Madison County. And Jackson sits at the crossroads of major interstates 20 and 55, with Interstate 55 connecting to the major southern metros of Memphis and New Orleans, while Interstate 20 runs to Shreveport and Birmingham. But when it comes to Jackson, most of what you see and hear is usually negative. The roads are usually in pretty bad shape, every time I've been there at least. The downtown area looks sad, aside from the government buildings. And the core city was recently in the news for not being able to get clean water to its citizens. And the growth rate is far slower than its other southern peer metros at only 1.9% from 2010. However, despite all this, the black population of the metro actually increased from 2010 by almost 10%. Though the data suggests that black people moved into Jackson's suburbs rather than the city of Jackson itself. The core city has been on a downward spiral since the 1980s, So in the case of Jackson, the suburbs are holding the metro up from being an overall population loser, with both black and white residents fleeing outside the city limits. I would say that maybe Jackson could turn it around, but with the politics in the area and Mississippi as a whole, I just don't see that trend changing anytime soon. And there you have it, guys, the most black cities in America. Jackson, Mississippi is on top. Not Atlanta, not DC, not St. Louis, not Detroit. So if you ever want to know where black Americans really live, you can always refer back to this video. Now, did any of the places on this list surprise you? Were there any metros that you thought would make the list, but they didn't? Let me know what you think in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next one.